Welcome back, players and spectators. This is WCS America Group G. And we're going to be getting on into Belshire Vestige. It's going to be our game number 2 here of Huck versus Sen. Sen taking a pretty awesome game number 1. Huck trying to fight with all of his might, but unfortunately the Zerg Swarm was just too much for him to take. Looks like both of our players are saying that they're ready, so hopefully we'll be getting to this game pretty quickly. And this is match point, so possibly Huck could be knocked down to the challenger bracket. But right now, actually no, Sen hasn't connected to the lobby. So we'll just have to take a couple of seconds here. Axlev, what are you thinking is going through Huck's mind as a Protoss player yourself?
You know, Huck's got to be thinking, okay, Whirlwind, I got overrun by roaches. But that's also Whirlwind, where it's very open and it can be difficult to hold that roach aggression. Also, I kind of came into it from disadvantage, playing that mass gateway aggression, but then not being able to get any pylons up very close to his opponent. So a lot of things went wrong for Huck that game. I think he's going to come into the next game saying, okay, you know, just the way my builds worked out, it didn't work out that game. It got too far ahead. I think I should still stick with my game plans because the micro was excellent, and he looked very, very good that game. He just was a base down for too long.
Huck, of course, top 3 in control. I believe that's self-proclaimed. But, I mean, we could see that it was incredibly apparent. His force fields were spectacular in that game, and possibly going to be relying on a little bit more of a 2-base timing push and using that type of a mechanic advantage. Though, of course, Crank went for the same thing against Sen and actually was punished and lost the game because of it, thinking that his control was better than Sen. Sen's positioning in that game was completely amazing, was able to draw his opponent into a nice little corner and then completely surround him with roaches and take him out. So I'm really curious to see how Sen's going to play this game.
One thing is you don't want to put Sen in a position where the mass roach style is an appropriate counter to what you're doing. So the kind of the later 2-base all-ins are not a good idea against Sen. Also, trying to take a third on an open map can be very difficult as well. So you either want to try to stall it out to a super late game where roaches aren't as viable, or the other way to approach playing Sen is try to hit him before he can really get that roach production off the ground.
So Sen went for that Mass Ling Ultra style against Crank, and it didn't work out so well. I'm wondering if Huck, in the back of his mind, is like, please go for that, please go for that. We really need that type of a win here for Huck in order to take game number 2 and possibly turn this into a game number 3 and then, you know, turn it into a victory. But Huck, I mean, he's already down a game. He's already in the losers winner series, which is what I'm going to continue. No, losers series, loser winner. That's what I'm calling it. So we're just waiting to see what's going on here with the map. I believe there was an issue there.
Should be started in just a second. In the meantime, the map is going to be Belshire Vestige. And this map has all those ramps. We saw Crank try that 2-base timing. I don't think Huck's going to do the same thing. I kind of feel he's going to go for an early gateway play, or he's going to fake an early gateway play, try to convince Sen to make a lot of roaches, but really take a third and just focus on setting up that defense at a third very, very, very solidly.
All right, so we just have to wait for our players to get in here. Before then, though, of course, this is a reminder. The loser of this is going to be knocked down to the challenger bracket. The winner of this is going to go on to the round of 16. We already have one of our losers and one of our winners already. And so after this is the last map, this is the last series and group of the round of 32. And then we're going to go on to the round of 16, which is where it gets a lot more serious, of course. More and more players going to be getting a little bit more warmed up and practicing a lot more against their opponents, I would assume, as we get into that round of 16. And I think that's really where WCS is going to start getting incredibly exciting.
We'll see which of these guys will advance. Of course, Sen is up 1-0. So if he wins this map, Huck is going to be kicked down to the Challenger Division. Huck has to win this map and the next one to advance.
All right, guys, let's get into the map. Spawning up here in the top left-hand corner. This is match point, so I'm getting excited. It is Sen, our red Zerg player from Team Gamma Bear. And down here in the bottom right-hand corner from Team Evil Geniuses, it is Huck. I guess I should mention that Huck's a Protoss. I think at this point, everybody should know. But if it's your first time watching Starcraft, this is the Protoss race.
Indeed, indeed. Of course, Sen is the Zerg race, sending that Overlord across the map to scout, doing his standard extractor trick. You know, early on, so many of the Zergs did that extractor trick, and over the years, it's like more and more of them are saying, you know what, it doesn't really get me more resources, and it's just an extra hassle to deal with having to do that to get that 11 trillion a little bit faster. So it's kind of been losing fashion, but I think it's very representative of Sen's plays. That Sen is one of those guys, I mean, he still basically plays exact same way he did in Wings of Liberty, which is actually very similar to how he actually played Brood War as well. He just has that same style he really likes. He just hones it to perfection, and he says, you know what? Everyone can know how I play. Doesn't matter because I'm just that good at the game.
And that's one of those, that's one of the key type of archetypes of players is the incredibly solid player. They do one thing, they do it really well, they have it molded down so perfectly that every single type of, diversion that the other player can go for, whatever type of build, they've already tuned this build so perfectly so that as soon as they get in, they know what stage of the build they're at, so they should know what type of stage of their opponent will be at as well, and that'll allow them to get into that perfect position to counter their opponent. Sen's been playing this really well. We can see that every single time he gets into a position where his opponent does something a little bit differently, we can see there's slight little changes so that he adjusts, that he's already practiced to adjust his plan and get into the best possible position for himself.
Again, going for that third hatchery before the spawning pool. That's a pretty much a great opening against anything that doesn't involve an early forge. We can see Huck going for that gateway expansion, 2 probes on each assimilator, 16 on the minerals. The question is, I think he's going to go Nexus before he builds the unit. We'll have to, I think he is. This is kind of what they call the nano really. It started this form of the gateway expansion where you get the gateway in a side core, but you do get that Nexus before you really start that unit production, even seeing that Zealot being canceled. They're starting the Nexus. And then, of course, if they send Zerglings across the map, you have the Mothership Core, and you can reactively build the units to defend.
Mothership Core now popping out here. Awesome unit. It's changed so much of the PVX matchup, changing so much of what Protoss does. I believe it's one of the only units that really is available very early for Heart of the Swarm. Most of the other units here, especially for Zerg, are mostly endgame or the upgrades for the Hydras. But it's a great way to throw a monkey wrench into what everybody knew in Wings of Liberty. But Sen, as we were saying before, plays pretty much the same style since Wings of Liberty. Doesn't really, get phased by the Mothership Core that much.
That's right. This is Huck's primary form of scouting. In fact, his only form of scouting so far this game. Sending it out there to get that map vision. Behind us, adding more gateways. So he could be going for gateway timing against that third base. In fact, the probe is going out to build proxy pylons. Warp gate is nearing completion. Zergling gets destroyed before he can get into base and get that important scout information. Another Zergling here is going to spot the Stalker. He might be taken out as well, and this probe is still undetected as it crosses the right side of the map.
It might walk right next to that Overlord.
Oh, it is a great Overlord placement by Sen.
And yeah, so he is going to see that probe. The probe's going to see the Overlord. They're going to know that both of them are up to something.
This third base should fall to this attack, though, and I think Sen realizes this. He's going to evacuate these drones. Huck's going to try to take out as many as possible. The question here, is Huck going to be happy at killing the third hatchery, or is he going to try to get more damage going straight for the natural first?
There is an Overlord also diving into Huck's main base. Does get taken out. Doesn't really see that much too different from what we've seen already.
Sen trying to keep these drones alive by constructing buildings with them. Huck's first Zealots are starting to be warped in here. Going for the extractor, going for the hatchery now. He's going to try to focus this down. Of course, this type of build against the opening Sen did, it's almost impossible to really defend a third. But that doesn't mean Sen's necessarily that far behind, because remember, Huck's been delaying his tech, and he also doesn't have any upgrades on the way as well. So Zerg can be on equal basis to a Protoss in a situation like this, where they can actually be cost even, because the Protoss is just on Zealots, and the Zerg, of course, has those Roaches. Although Sen's Roach production actually is kicking out kind of late here. Yeah,
actually, it's really late, so Huck's actually going to be able to do a good amount of damage. He's running in here with a lot of Zealots. The Zergling are very afraid to engage so many Zealots. In fact, there's more Zealots than there are Zergling right now, which you want to have an overwhelming number of Zerglings in order to deal with those Zealots. Trying to run his drones away, waiting for those Roaches to come out here. Here come those Roaches finally, but unfortunately another Queen's going to fall here, and that's going to delay a lot of injects for later on.
When that Queen dies also, there's nothing that can kill the Mothership Core. Time warping the Roaches so they can't cut against the Zealots. This second Queen has to stay alive, but it's off creep, and the Zealots are right there.
Now
Sen, they just die.
Oh, it's going to engage 2 Zealots and a Mothership Core. It falls. There's nothing to stop this Mothership Core now. Drones surrounding a bunch of Zealots, and as Huck found out in a previous series, Workers versus Zealots does not go so well. We can see the Worker kill count going up to 21. Huck takes game number 2.
Wow. What a great game by Huck there. He really just took advantage of the fact that Sen was supply capped for a bit there. The Roaches were about a full minute later than they should have been. So normally with that build, you kill a Zerg third, and then a Zerg has Roaches and you have to back away. But in this case, even after killing that third base of Sen's, Huck was able to just continue on and push in before any Roaches were able to be out in the field.
Beautifully played there by Huck. A brilliant timing to punish that third base and then eventually turn it into a victory. So Sen now is going to have to go into the ace match against Huck. Can Huck bring it back with this ball rolling? He's already taken 1 game. Can he win the 2nd game and save himself from the challenger bracket? Or is Sen going to take the last game and make his way into round of 16? We'll know after the next game, but quick commercial break before then.